Hello, this is Mr. Knowles, and this video focuses on making a tape diagram to help students solve word problems. And I'm using Lesson 12 Exit Ticket from Module 1 as an example. And if you forgot what a tape diagram is at home, or if you're new to tape diagrams, maybe it's your parents that are watching this, a tape diagram helps students solve word problems by using a visual model, like a sketch, to help students understand the problem that they have to solve. And they're really helpful, especially in word problems. So I have this problem here, and the first part actually says, model the problem with a tape diagram. So we have to build one or construct one. Solve and write your answer as a statement. Basically, a statement means we have to write our answer as a sentence. Let's look at the actual problem. In January, Scott earned $8,999. In February, he earned $2,387 more than in January. In March, Scott earned the same amount as in February. How much did Scott earn altogether during those 3 months? Is your answer reasonable? Explain. Okay, well, let's work on that tape diagram first because that's what this video is all about. I'm going to take this first piece of information here, and I'm just going to write an abbreviation of January, and I'm going to make a rectangle and put that amount of money or that number inside. And now I'm constructing my tape diagram. So these rectangles are also called tapes or strips. You might refer people as a strip diagram. February. In February, he earned 2,387 more than in January. So this is a key piece of information right here. And so is the word more than in January. So that more than tells us something. So down below, I'm going to write an abbreviation of February. And I know that it's January's total or value or amount plus that other amount of money. All right, that's done. In March, Scott earned the same amount as in February. Okay, so March is the same as February. So March is the same as February would be. And this is a tape diagram. Now, what are we actually trying to solve here? How much did Scott earn all together during those 3 months? So what we're trying to solve is, I usually use a bracket, all of those combined. We're trying to find the total of all three things. That's what we're trying to figure out. So I might write this, or I might put a question mark, like to reference, like, hey, we're trying to solve the question mark there. I might do that too. So this is what a tape diagram looks like. There's lots of different kinds of tape diagrams, but this is what we've started with in 4th grade. You can stop the video if you know what to do next. If not, I'm going to go ahead and keep going and solve the problem. You're more than welcome to join me in solving this problem. If you got this and you just needed to know how to do a tape diagram, that's great. You can do your thing. I'm going to solve February. So I'm going to build a place value chart. Students are in different places with their adding skills, I should say. So one thing I have students do is if they need help lining up their numbers is to build just a basic place value chart. Or I would get gridded paper. and then I put the numbers in here. Some students will use place value discs still, which is great. That's totally acceptable. And they know how to do that. So if they're adding place value discs or dots or circles, that's okay. Let them do it. It's helping them work on their addition skills. So I'm going to add these numbers. So 9 and 17 in the ones place, that's 16, right? I'm going to do this really quickly. And I want to think of 6 and 10. And anytime you get groups of 10, we can bundle that up, and that 10 goes over into this tens place as a 1. And what we're left with is the 6. And that's why we only write 6 here. Okay, so in that tens place, we have a 1, a 9, and an 8. I know that's 10, and the 8 is 18. So just like earlier in the ones place, I'm just going to write an 8 here because that 10 and the 1 and the 9 together, that gets bundled and moved over here and becomes 100. And look at that, another bundling opportunity right here. That would be 10 plus the 3 is 13. This 10 would go over here, and I'm just going to stick it here as a 1. And I'm left with 3. So now I have 8, a 2, and a 1 in the thousands place. Well, that's 10, right? So that's going to go over here as 1 in the 10,000s place. And this 1 here, it's easy to miss it, gets put down here. And then this 1, don't forget it, that goes there. So February and March actually, right? Because they're exactly the same number, would be $11,386. February's that number too, right? It's a little crammed in there, but February's also that number. So if I scroll down, I'm going to take that number and write it down twice somewhere. Maybe here. 11,386. I'm going to write it twice. I'm not using a place value chart. I'm making sure everything's lined up. Now I'm going to go through the process of adding. So 6 plus 6, that's 12. 8 and 8, I know that's 16, plus the 1, that's 17. Now I'm in the hundreds place. A 3 and a 3 and a 1, that's also 7. I have 2 ones in the thousands place, that's 2. And I have 2 ones in the 10,000s place, that's another 2. Need a comma there. $22,772. Am I done? Well, see, I added February and I added March. I didn't add January yet, so notice how I'm using little check marks. So I need to add January to that. So I'm going to take 22,772 plus, do you remember what January was? It was this number right here, 8,999. 8,999. And I'm going to add those. Well, 2 and 9, that's 11, right? It's 11, so you have to think about, that's 10 and 1. I can bundle that 10, and that goes over to the tens place as a 1. And what I'm left with is 1 here. Well, now I have 1 and a 9, actually. Did you see those? That's 10. I'm going to cross those out. That's 10, and that would bundle over to that hundreds place, and I'm left with that 7. Okay, let's go to the hundreds place. I have the exact same thing. So what's going on is I have 1 plus 7 plus 9, just like before. And what I do, you don't have to do this, but what I do is I see this 1 and I see this 9 and I say, oh, that's 10. And then plus the 7, that's 17. But I know 10, every time I get 10, I'm going to cross those out. That's a bundle, and I can put it over here. And then I'm left with the 7, which is 17, right? But the 1 goes over into the thousands place. Now I see a 1 here, and I see an 8 here. Whoops, I take that back. Let me erase that. That 1's still there, right? I actually see the 8 and the 2. That makes 10. So I can get rid of those. That's a bundle, and that's going to move over here, right? And then I'm just left with this 1 right here that goes down. And then this 1 and this 2 is 3. $31,771. Wow, that's a big problem. I'm going to go back to the beginning. What's this person's name? Scott? Okay, now I got to write a sentence. Start here. Scott earned $31,771. I think it was for 3 months. For 3 months. You need to write it in some kind of sentence that makes sense. And in my class, all your sentences should be capitalized at the beginning and have some form of punctuation here. At the end of a sentence, you should have a period or an exclamation point or a question mark. And for these statement answers in math, generally speaking, they're going to end in periods. I don't think they're going to end in questions or exclamation points. Unless you're really excited about your answer, then maybe so. I hope this has been helpful to you, especially with the tape diagrams. The actual math problem, wow, that had a lot of steps in it, didn't it? Lots of math, lots of thinking going on, and I'm really glad that you took this on. I hope it helps.